Good frosty, foggy morning here at the state capitol. Appreciate everybody making it out for a 9 o'clock meeting. Welcome to meeting number 6 of the Senate Standing Committee on Judiciary. And I think we've got a quorum, but Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Berg. Senator Carroll.
Here.
Senator Deneen.
Here.
Senator Neal. Senator Schickel. President Stivers. Senator Storm.
Here.
Senator Turner.
Here.
Senator Wheeler.
Here.
Chairman Westerfield.
Here. Seeing that we have a quorum and we are authorized to do business, we're going to jump right in. And we're actually going to go in order today. Chairman, come on up for your inaugural presence before this committee as chair of your committee. Glad to have
Thank
you.
you.
You're here on House Bill 231, an act relating to criminal history record checks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You have the floor, sir.
It's good to be here, and good morning to everyone. So House Bill 231 simply creates a new section of KRS 620 to allow the Department for Community-Based Services to request a criminal justice agency perform a federal name-based criminal history record check of each adult residing in the residence when a child happens to be placed there in an emergency placement setting. And these placements often occur primarily when a parent has been charged with dependency, abuse, or neglect. And I know there are lawyers on the committee, so those of us who have practiced in that area understand that children are obviously removed from those situations when a parent is charged. And if a relative or fictive placement is available for the child, then the cabinet will attempt to place with an individual during the pendency of the case if the family court finds that placement is in the child's best interest. And specifically, the federal name-based criminal history record check is the NCIC, which is the National Crime Information Center, which is controlled by the FBI. And Mr. Chairman, I've been working on this legislation since 2017, so I guess patience and persistence is important in service here, but I do appreciate the committee hearing the bill this morning, and I know it's very early and late in the session, so I appreciate your consideration.
I appreciate that. It's pretty straightforward. I make a motion on the bill. Is there a second? Second from Senator Deneen. Members, any questions? Yeah, Senator, go ahead.
Thank you, Representative. You and I spoke about this briefly yesterday. I think it's in Section 2 on page 1. It's a may request.
Yes.
And why is it a may request as opposed to a shall request?
That's a great question. And back in 2017, when we started on this legislation, I met with KSP, AOC, the chief justices at the time, chief of staff, and the cabinet. And so we actually had to submit the original legislation as it was written to the FBI, and they actually, I would say, rewrote it to their specifications in order to access their database. So when it came back from them, that was the language that was sent back. And so I was cautioned that basically changing a word could make the FBI reject the statute and not follow it. And of course, they wouldn't have to follow a state statute. So that was some of the rationale behind it. I guess the other rationale would be when you have a lot of these situations where a child is placed in an emergency situation. Most of the time, I know myself, I've lived in Kentucky my entire life, so there's not going to be a need to do one of these federal background checks on someone who's been in Kentucky, all of their life or most of their life. Now, if somebody's been in another state within the last 5 years, that's typically when this would occur. So I think the shall language would be too burdensome in a case where everyone in the household says, well, I've been in Kentucky my entire life.
Anything further? Senator Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And my question was kind of along those lines, and spoke with the sponsor communicated with the sponsor last night, and I know that the FBI is very particular about access to NCIC, and his response in working with them and getting everything approved through them answered that question very thoroughly. And I think this is a good bill, and it will bring some added protection. So commend you on your efforts, Representative.
Thank you so much.
Seeing no further question, there being a motion and a second, Madam Secretary.
Senator Byrd, Senator Carroll,
Aye.
Senator Deneen, Senator Neal, Senator Schickel, President Stivers, Senator Storm,
Aye.
Senator Turner, Senator Wheeler, Chairman Westerfield.
Aye. Bill passes with favorable expression, I believe 6-0. I will entertain a motion for consent. So moved and seconded by Storm and Turner. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate
you.
it.
All right, Representative, come on down. Welcome. Glad to have you here on House Bill 535, an act relating to criminal justice data and making an appropriation therefor. Members, there is a committee substitute which makes enormous, sweeping changes of one word. I make a motion to adopt the committee substitute. Second from Senator Storm. I'll take that one first. All those in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The sub is before us. Representative, you have the floor.
Good morning. I'm Stephanie Dietz. I'm representative from the 65th District, so that's part of Kenton County. And I would like to go ahead and have my guests introduce themselves this morning.
I'm Olivia Spradlin from the Kentucky Coalition Against Domestic Violence.
Elsie Berger, I'm the Executive Director of the Criminal Justice Statistical Analysis Center at the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet.
And I'm Natalie Barikinoff. I'm with the Justice and Public Safety Cabinet.
And I'd like to go ahead and just speak on the entire bill. House Bill 535 with the sub is a cleanup bill to last session's Senate Bill 271, which I think was, Mr. Chair, your bill that you took through. And this is where the Criminal Justice Statistical Analysis Center, CJSAC, was created as part of the Kentucky Justice and Public Safety Cabinet. In short, Senate Bill 271 went into effect on July 14th, 2022, mandating comprehensive reporting on domestic violence for cabinets and agencies across the criminal justice system. The collected data and analyzed data would go towards targeting services and addressing issues in the areas identified by the data. The following agencies are tasked with that collection: the Kentucky State Police, Law Information Network of Kentucky, LINK, Cabinet for Health and Family Services, AOC, the Division of Kentucky State Medical Examiner's Office, and coroners. House Bill 535 would make the following revisions to make the collection of data easier and more productive and address the concerns of the agencies that I just listed. The Kentucky State Police will provide the center with information reported in the LINK system and provide the center with the number of orders of protection received to be served by law enforcement agencies, number of orders of protection served by law enforcement agencies, the number of orders of protection in LINK, and the average time for actual service to be returned. The Kentucky State Police can only report on the calls for service that it is involved in or which are reported to the Kentucky State Police. With this in mind and to ensure compliance, we deleted the requirement that the Kentucky State Police report the number of domestic violence and abuse and dating violence and abuse calls for service to which all other law enforcement agencies responded, the number of arrests by all other local law enforcement agencies in response to calls of domestic violence and abuse and dating violence and abuse, and if an arrest was made, the arresting offense listed by all other local enforcement agencies not reported under paragraph 1. The requirement that the Kentucky Coalition Against Domestic Violence report the number of beds or the type of services provided to the cabinet is deleted as it's a duplication of other reporting requirements. The Division of Kentucky State Medical Examiner's Office requirement to provide the center with the number of deaths in which domestic violence and abuse or dating violence and abuse was a contributing factor was deleted due to their inability to make this determination. The coroner's requirement to provide the center with the number of deaths as a result of or suspected to be a result of domestic violence and abuse or dating violence, again, due to their inability to make this determination. And finally, the provision regarding JC3 report was modified to include paper and electronic forms and submissions to ensure that local law enforcement agencies are not out of compliance. These changes will provide CJSAC with the authorities necessary to receive data it is required to collect.
I want to comment on that last point that you made. And Natalie, you know, I've talked about this before, and Elsie, we've all spoken about this before. I don't know how many agencies are still using paper on the JC3, but we need to get with the program, and those need to start using the electronic form that everybody else is using so that we can capture that data properly and as quickly as possible and as accurately as possible. I appreciate you bringing the changes that the Justice Cabinet has asked for, and I applaud the Justice Cabinet for creating the center and expanding its mission from what it was when the bill passed last year. You all, the Justice Cabinet didn't oppose the bill, but we put it with the Justice Center, or the Data Analysis Center, CJSAC, whatever in the world the acronym is. We put it with that, knowing that its mission was very specific and had nothing to do with domestic violence. But that's a perfect vehicle to do the kind of work you're expanding it to do. And so I'm glad to see that natural expansion of that office to make it and attach it to the Secretary's office to do good data collection and analysis for not just for the Justice Cabinet, but for the future policymakers here in Frankfort to look at on an issue that's pretty daggum important. So I applaud that, and I'm thankful for that. And Representative, I appreciate you bringing the bill. I don't mean to step on anybody's toes. If you've got prepared remarks, happy to hear those. Members, any questions on the bill? Got a motion from Senator Carroll and a second from Senator Turner on the bill as amended. Madam Secretary.
Senator Byrd. Senator Carroll.
Aye.
Senator Deneen. Senator Neal. Senator Schickel. President Stivers. Senator Storm.
Aye.
Senator Turner. Senator Wheeler.
Aye.
Chairman Westerfield.
Aye. Bill passes with favorable expression, I believe, 7-0. Motion. Okay. I'm just going to take your objection. I'll let you two work out the details about anything else. But the bill does pass with favorable expression, and it'll head to the floor. Representative, thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate your work and your advocacy, and I appreciate the work the center's going to be doing. Yes, ma'am. All right, members. We have in front of us these last four resolutions, and I had intended to bring each one of these folks up one at a time to give them a chance. But in the interest of time, we've all got places to go. I've had an opportunity to speak with all four of them. I know three of them, and I have spoken many times before. Two of them many times. One of them many, many, many times over the course of her tenure at the Department of Corrections. I believe that they all meet the statutory requirements necessary to be appointed to the board. But unless someone wants to hear from one of the members, one of the nominees, I'm going to act on all four resolutions at once. Anybody object to that? All right. These having been posted to the agenda for today's meeting, I'm reading a script at this point. I ask, and will ask in just a moment, for a motion and a second to report all four Senate resolutions. Senate resolutions 185, 186, 187, and 188 to report them with favorable expression, and we'll take one voice vote for the batch. If you'd like to lodge a no vote, that's fine. Communicate that to the chair or to the secretary either after the vote or before we adjourn the meeting. Otherwise, all members will be reflected as voting aye on the committee reports for each of these resolutions. So with that, I will entertain a motion and a second to report Senate Resolutions 185, 6, 7, and 8 with favorable expression from the committee. Got a motion from Senator Wheeler, and a second from Senator Turner, and a third from Senator Berg. Any questions? I know we've got the nominees here with us. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving and reporting them favorably, all four Senate resolutions, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, they shall be reported favorably. All four in one big batch. Senator? Yes, ma'am. No, it's all right. Occupational hazard. Your vote will be so recorded. Seeing nothing further to come before the committee at this time,